Ladies and gents, welcome back to Off the Record, a podcast made by your favourite local record shop, Rockabuy Records. We're here in the heart of the UK, in a small town of Oakham in the county of Rutland. We sell absolutely everything from £1 all the way up to those rare, expensive records that you might be after, and everything in between. As always, I'm joined by some of my favourite people here. This is Tom, and right dad himself, my dad Dean. Good evening, gents.
Good.
How you doing?
Evening.
All right. No Chris today, so yeah, if you,
Yes.
he's had to go and do a gig, and
Chris and I have, tapped in and out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no Chris today, but we got the beta version of the Dream Team.
Yeah, there you go.
So
I like that, the beta version.
Yeah,
It's like the Helter Skelter copy for regards to Oasis.
yeah,
It's not as good as the Croatian one when they're all there, but the Helter Skelter one will do.
yeah.
But will it though? We'll talk about that one. We'll talk about that one later.
That's another week.
No, we'll do about later, but in the next probably 10 minutes.
Cool. Right. So what we thought we'd talk about today. We obviously run a record shop, and we have got a lot of kind of different formats that we can listen to nowadays. All the way back to acetate records, all the way up to our modern day in the world of streaming and digital records. So, why, out of everything that we can choose from, do we still listen to music on record, on vinyl, on a bit of plastic? Why on earth do we choose it, and what is the point? So, yeah. Let's just chat about it. Why? What is it about records?
I think it is, apart from having the band perform live in my living room, it is just simply the best, the best format. It's the best sound. It looks the best. It's the artwork, the gatefold sleeves, the trifold sleeves where it all folds up. Every option.
Yeah,
it is just great.
Yeah.
I know that I try my hardest not to mention Oasis, right? Okay. But I will mention them just on this one occasion, okay? So we've got this guy who buys from us. He's in Scotland. Shout out to Richard Beattie, right? Okay. He asked us to get him a copy of the Master Plan by Oasis, okay? But it has to be on Creation. Anyway, I order one, right? Find him one online. Anyway, it comes back and it's a Helter Skelter version, right? That you just, Anyway, we did actually get a copy of the Creation version, the first press. And Chris comes back and he says, "Have you heard the Master Plan on Creation?" I went, "I haven't had a chance to have a copy of it. Just listen to him." We played it in the shop, and no kidding, the hairs on my arms grew hairs. Yeah. It was one of those spine-tingling moments where you had to be here to experience it, because you would never, ever have got that through listening to it on Spotify. You would never, ever have the whole experience of me taking it out of the sleeve, holding the record, putting it on the deck and literally listening to that acoustic guitar and that orchestration come in on the song The Master Plan. It absolutely blew me away.
Yeah.
And we said, right, let's listen to what the Helter Skelter version sounds like. So we put the Helter Skelter version on, and it was nice, but it felt dead. Do you know what I mean? It felt like there was something missing. Now, I don't know what happened there with Creation and Helter Skelter, whether there was something going on, but just listening to that Creation version of the Master Plan is one of the reasons why we own a record shop, because music sounds so much better on vinyl. Now, you can argue with me on that, because I've got a record shop and I've got 10,000 records to sell, and I will. That will always. Primarily, we are a record shop.
Yeah.
But when you listen to certain versions and certain albums on vinyl, and then they remaster it,
yeah,
and it sounds Flipping heck, what have you done now?
I'm pretty sure that I may be wrong. I'm pretty sure the Helter Skelter version is the European release.
Yeah.
And the Creation version is the
UK.
only.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it's the Helter Skelter is the first press of the European,
For Europe,
European,
for not UK.
Yeah, but not UK. Yeah. So that's, I mean, and people come. I had this guy come into the shop about 6 months ago, and he said, "I'm looking for a hunky dory." I went, "Okay, I've got one." He said, "But it has to be A3 B5 on the Matrix," and I'm like, "Why's that then?" So he goes, "Because the hunky dory A3 B5 was where they had it perfect."
Yeah.
And the mix was, was perfectly, it was mixed perfectly. And I didn't get it, right? I thought, well, and then we was talking to somebody about the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, and he said, listen to the A3 B3 on the run out.
Yeah.
Right, it's the better version, and no kidding, it is. It's chalk and cheese. Listening to it, and you would never ever get that on a streaming service. You would never ever get that on a CD. You have to physically listen to this album. There must be 140 different versions on vinyl of Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. So why would you choose an A3 B3 press because it's the one that Gilmour loved the most?
Yeah.
And
I think although vinyl in my opinion, although we say it's the best way to listen to music, I think the best way to describe it is it's the most organic way to listen to music. It's a living thing. It's like it's there. But you've got to have a good vinyl. Like you said, if you've got a crap printed version of Hunky Dory, and it's paper thin and it's scratched up and it's going to sound crap. And you're better off listening to Apple Music. Nobody should listen to Spotify. Spotify sounds crap. I'm sorry, but Spotify sounds shit. It does. Apple Music sounds brilliant.
Shout out Spotify.
Yeah. Tidal sounds brilliant. They're all high quality stuff. Spotify is just it's the laziest streaming service in the world. They just need to update their platform to make sure that they're uploading the best quality music so that people can enjoy good quality music. But at the moment, people are paying for it and it's crap. It's absolutely awful.
I'm paying
for
0.0001 PS.
They're doing nothing for themselves, and they haven't made a profit since the day they started their business.
Who, Spotify haven't?
No, they haven't done a single year yet where they've made a profit.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell me how that works. One of the biggest companies in the world, and they're still spending more than they're making. It just doesn't make sense in my head. And their service is bad, and they don't pay their artists. It's silly. Anyway, that's me going off on a rant.
Yeah.
You got to have a good vinyl to make sure you're listening to the best quality version of that. It's a bit like listening to an MP3 that's been downloaded off YouTube versus an MP3 that's been downloaded, or a WAV that's been downloaded off the internet from the official.
From the little codes that come in the vinyl.
Yeah.
Them little codes.
One of the official.
I've never ever used one of those little codes.
Have you not?
Never ever used one. No, I used to try and sell them on eBay.
Yeah.
I used to cover the code and be like,
"Yeah,
this fell out of my record collection."
Yeah.
So if you bought one, thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to that, like a good quality vinyl, it does make a difference. Like that Revolver remastered version.
Yep.
180 gram vinyl.
Yep.
Printed perfect, absolutely perfectly. Was that released 2018, 2016?
I think so. Was it the box set? Yes. When was that?
No. I pre-ordered that on Honeymoon in 2020. Pressure's on, but 2022.
Really?
Nah, 2021, I reckon.
I was sat in the bath in Turkey on my honeymoon, and I told Molly, and she went, "All right."
All right, okay, yeah.
I can tell you now, it came out in September.
Right.
Was when the pre-order was made.
Nice. Okay. So
you got the master in that. You got the master, the alternate takes, and the latest repress.
Yeah. Yeah, we were listening to Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah.
The Revolver remastered version.
Yeah.
And there's something special about that.
Yeah, there is.
Like, I've listened to that song. I can't count the amount how many times I've listened to that, and that is the best version of that song I've ever listened to.
On the latest
2022
reissue.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to go back and compare things like this, because I am one of those so stuck in my way with it that if it's not the first press, it's a worse version.
I was like that though, right? Because to me, right? Because I think we're going on a rant now about remasters now, aren't we?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, to me, right? Revolver is what it epitomises perfection, right? When you listen to stuff like Revolver, and you listen to Sgt. Pepper's, and you listen to Abbey Road, and they are perfection, right? Now, why would anybody want to try to perfect perfection? You're just trying to reinvent the wheel again, aren't you? Right? And I was dead against any remastered version. But then I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. Back in 1966, when Revolver came out, it was still very primitive record players. Yeah. There was not a lot of stuff that, I mean, when you bought a mono or a stereo, if you bought a stereo record and you had a stereo record player, you were a king, right? Because everybody was still playing their stuff on their dansets and their little, So I kind of thought, well, maybe they need to remaster it or keep on remastering it to bring it up to date with the new technology that we have, and I get that, right? But what they did with Revolver was it made it into a 21st century album, didn't it? Yeah. And it was just one of those moments where I thought, yeah, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Because but it had to be on vinyl. Yeah. Right? Because when they remastered them, I remember when Michael Jackson died, and they had to, and the Michael Jackson estate, I think the story goes they still owned the rights to all the Beatles albums, right? And they literally brought out everything. They churned a load out and remastered them, and they just didn't work. It just wasn't.
Booted them out the door quick.
Yeah, they just brought out, them in the little gatefold CDs and stuff, and it was just not. It just wasn't. It didn't work for me, and that's what I'm saying. Look, don't try and reinvent the wheel because it just doesn't work. Yeah. But what I think it was Giles Martin, wasn't it, who did all the anniversary stuff.
Ones. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Revolver is. But on vinyl, it is just.
I need to test that.
Yeah. Well, you sold me your bloody.
I never listened to that. I never ever listened to the reissue.
And you know what? I put it in the shop. It was the first album that went out of it. I've still got all of the box sets up there on the wall that you sold me. But Revolver was the only one that flipping flew out.
I think it's the only one you can still get as well.
Well, I'm going to buy it. I'll buy it. I should buy it tonight.
I listened to the original master and all the alternate tapes. Never the reissue, because I'm always like, I'm not listening to that. It's just a big CD.
Yeah, but you like me. Yeah,
but if you gave me a knackered first press Revolver, I'd be like shaking, going, "Oh, thank you, God!" This is the best version. And then someone would go, "Here's a cassette from 1982," and I go, "Not for me."
Yeah. Well, I think my theory is that because they recorded everything to tape, there's a way to get stuff from tape onto other formats, and without losing much quality. Tape is a bit like tape, in my opinion, is probably the best format ever, because you don't lose any quality. It's just so bloody expensive.
You mean like a reel to reel type thing?
Oh yeah, real.
I thought you meant
the
cassette that I've got in my 1991 Corsa.
Cassettes are all right. They are a bit crap.
Yeah.
But reel-to-reel tape in the studio, what's their names? Tascam tapes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I just wanted to confirm that you weren't saying
Yeah.
cassettes were the best.
No. Reel-to-reel in the studio. That is the best because there's absolutely no loss of quality at all.
What? No deterioration over time?
No.
No, they don't lose their.
Actually, there is a deterioration over time, yeah. And the best way to get it back is actually to put them in an oven.
Really?
Yeah. You got to cook them. Yeah. So all these
20 minutes, 180 degrees. That's what I cook.
Yeah.
Everything gets cooked on that. Yeah.
Well, 23 minutes have melted. Do you know that was the only version of Alien Rugby we had?
Yeah. So,
wow, imagine.
So all these lost tapes.
Yeah, that one as well. God, great album.
All these lost tapes that you find from like the 60s and stuff. They're
all melted together.
The originals.
Whack them in your oven.
Remaster them. Yeah, they put them in a kiln and take them out, and they're fresh as
ready to go.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
So there's a little bit of saturation with tape, but that was all part of the recording process, and you'd record knowing that there's saturation there. If you know what I mean?
Yep.
So you'd know that. All right, okay, we need to record this electric guitar. So let's not drive it too much because we're going to get a little bit of that drive on the tape. But because that was the only way to record onto that format, that was it, kind of thing. If you know what I mean?
So was it right when they recorded? We'll go back to the Beatles again. When they recorded Sgt. Pepper's, that they only had a 4-track. So they had to record the first 4 tracks onto the tape, and then they recorded that then to make that track 1.
I can't remember when 4-track became 8 and 16.
Right.
It might have gone up to 16.
Right.
Sgt. Pepper's.
Okay.
But definitely with the early ones, they would have used 4-track. So they would have made their 4 tracks, and then they would have burnt 3 of those tracks onto the first track. So now you're only working with 3.
Yeah.
You do that again. And you do that again, and you do that again. And what it gives us this like shiny, glassy kind of sound that's like rich in high end and like all those high mids, very technical. But it gives it that kind of sparkly kind of sound when you keep on bouncing those 3 tracks down to 1, and you keep on doing it, because that first track keeps on getting more and more kind of lost in the mix and more kind of buried, as they say.
So if you cocked up. Then you would you ever start again, or would them 3 tracks be there all the time?
You would only bounce down to 1 once you're happy with all 4. So
right.
Regardless of whether that one's got the 20 tracks already on it, you should, in theory, be happy with that one.
Right.
With that one that's got the 20 already on it, and you'd only take these ones onto there once you're happy that all of these 4 match up together to add it to just 1.
That's mad, isn't it?
On these 3,
yeah,
you could do that again.
Right.
Yeah.
So those 20. How would you remaster those 20 tracks then? Because in theory it'd be just 1 track, wouldn't it? Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah. I mean, you could still have a 4-track. You could still have a 4-track recording of say. Well, you could have more than 1 4-track, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you could have a 4-track for the drums. You could have a 4-track for the voices, 4-track for the things. But then eventually you'd have to bounce all of those down into 1 track.
To 1 track, yeah.
And then put that 1 track onto another 4-track.
Oh, good.
Get that round your head.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
But now, press a button, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you told me when you recorded your last song, it was 132 tracks on it, or 112 on it.
112.
112 tracks on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the hell? What have you got? There are only 5 people in the band, aren't there?
Yeah.
But then you told me you had to mic every drum up, didn't you?
Absolutely,
Because
yeah.
you know it's bonkers, isn't it?
What's that John C. Reilly film? Walk Hard. Do you remember that?
No.
It's a Johnny Cash spoof.
Right.
Yes. We need more didgeridoos. 10,000 didgeridoos. Don't know why that came to my head.
Yeah, again, good.
Yeah. So in my opinion, tape is kind of a very, very good format. But that's what I mean by going on to vinyl, is that it's actually really tricky to take something and put it onto vinyl and make it sound exactly the same, because you actually lose a lot of I think it's low mid detail in the thing, so you actually have to master something for vinyl, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you don't just do what you do on a computer nowadays, or on a phone, where you record a voice note and then when you send it to your friend, they get exactly the same voice note. It's not like that. Once you go from tape to vinyl, you have to master it, knowing what the vinyl is going to sound like when you play it with a needle. Not knowing. Yeah.
It's amazing that they'd have done all that in the 60s.
Yeah.
It would have been very, very difficult to do, I imagine.
I mean, look at in the 50s with rock and roll, and you got flipping heck.
You got all that. Are you doing that for what? The
It was all live music then, though, wasn't it? Didn't they record one track, wasn't it? Live, wasn't it? Was that how they did it?
I mean, they could record more than one thing. It'd all go into a mixer, but it'd be one track in the end, one mono track. Yeah. I mean, the easiest way to do it back then, stuff like Robert Johnson and stuff, that would have been one microphone, and he would have been
recorded in the next room, wouldn't it? That photo on the Delta, what do you call it, recordings, where the blokes with the headphones on in the next room, and there's a wire going through the door, isn't there?
It's like the old two cups and string.
Yeah, it would have been similar. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably why we get a lot of remastered stuff, and that's probably why it sounds different, because you're remastering it to a different standard now, because you're having to compete with stuff like Apple Music and Tidal and better quality vinyls as well.
Yeah.
So you've got better quality vinyl now than you did back then.
Yeah, I beg to differ on that.
Do you reckon?
I could pick up a record in here that has been around the block and was released in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I could pick up the same record new from how could I say? Something that sounds like the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I believe the original, I could almost guarantee the original won't skip. The new record will skip.
Yeah.
Because I think records that come out today are mass produced for the kids to go and buy, because they're green, pink, blue.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I've been through a fair few, and what's that band we never mentioned? Oasis. So I have. I've had every pressing of Oasis. I've had all sorts of everything.
Yeah.
And I've had some knackered copies of Definitely Maybe. Came out in 1994, 30 years ago. I've also had a brand new, sealed, day of release, 2016 reissue.
Yeah.
And the reissue will jump. I can guarantee you, in fact, every single Liam Gallagher release jumps.
Yeah.
And I receive them day of release, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I put them straight on the turntable. I don't listen to them on any streaming sites because I want to listen to them on vinyl first. The first press as it's meant to be heard. And every single copy has jumped.
Wow.
However, I've had some absolutely battered, like I'm on about wrecked Sgt. Peppers.
Yeah.
And they will crackle at the start and the dead bit, and then they will play. Yeah. And they will sound beautiful. Yeah. And they are had it.
Yeah.
So there.
Yeah.
Buy second-hand vinyl, people, from places like, I don't know, Rockabuy Records.
Yeah, I reckon I'd agree with you.
Yeah. I just think records now are mass-produced because, like, okay, so there's this Oasis again, 30 years definitely maybe. They are releasing strawberry ice cream coloured vinyl.
Yeah.
They're releasing a bluish one, I think, a standard black one, and a quadruple 4LP edition with studio outtakes and whatever else. I can guarantee you I could pick any one of those up. I mean, I've ordered the 4LP. Yeah. And I know for a fact already I ordered it. I thought it's a shame because that's going to skip.
Right.
Because I just know it will, because it's mass produced, because loads of people want to buy it.
Nothing to do with your weight on your arm needing changing then, no?
Like your old one's alright.
Yeah, because my old one, because I can play my
Yeah, I know.
1994 one that I've booted up the garden and back, thrown as a frisbee for the dog, and it plays perfect.
Why would you throw it as a frisbee? It's a genius.
The dog's like,
okay,
Dad, bring it on down. I'm like, go. But I think the very unfortunate thing about records today is quick mass production for quick sales.
I think it's for those people that, like you said,
Are collecting today's.
are only wanting it because, you know.
Yeah, they want the songs on it.
I want the chocolate coloured one and the ice cream coloured one and the strawberry.
The strawberry, it's like strawberries and cream coloured vinyl.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's not. It's pink with white dots on it.
Yeah. However, what I would say at the same time is that if you find a record company that makes really good vinyls, i.e., Third Man Records,
Yes.
and the guys that do the Half Speed Master of Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, the Abbey Road mastering
Music
thing.
on vinyl?
Music on vinyl are brilliant.
Music on
Yeah.
vinyl.
Yeah.
Another very small, small big company. Blood. I've never had an issue with Blood Records.
Yeah.
I
Shout out to Craig.
yeah. Didn't come on, what picture disc? Wasn't that a Blood Records, or was that a
Yeah.
Yeah, but that skips.
So yeah, music on vinyl and Third Man Records and all of these people that kind of take care with making a vinyl.
Yeah.
I think they're the people that are kind of doing God's work in the record and vinyl business, and they're making sure that good quality music is being produced in the way that it should be produced, like it was in 1965. And
I think they had to be more because the technology wasn't there in the 60s.
Yeah.
And the 50s and 70s even. They had to be careful.
Yeah.
Because it was like, if we put this out, it's going to cost. It's going to put it under.
Yeah.
They were still experimenting, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were still, and I will probably stick my neck out here and say that anything from 65 to about 77, with them still experimenting, digital wasn't around. There was there was still all that stuff there is produced flipping incredibly.
Yeah.
It is, because, and there's a lot, like you say, about the mass production and stuff. I mean, of course, they mass produced, million selling albums. They have to mass produce them. But
why wouldn't you?
But there was care in the 60s, wasn't there?
Yeah.
There was, like you said, there was.
Even the 90s, though, when
men in white suits, it was still a scientific thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
even though in the 90s and the noughties, when records were fading out, I think you can tell as well. You pick a record up, and you take it out, and I find this with things like even Record Store Day. I pick it up, and I'll go, "This is a good record." Without even listening to it, without looking at it, you pick it up and you think, "There's some weight behind this."
And on the same side of the coin as well, I've picked up some of my favourite albums on vinyl, opened it up and gone, "Oh, for God's sake!" Like without even playing it, I've gone, "It's just a shit vinyl." I can tell already. Without even playing it, I've gone, "They've made this because they needed to make it because there's so many fans of this band and they wanted to make some cash."
Yeah,
I prefer it if you just made like only 1,000 or 2,000 of them, made them really, really well, and charged me 60, 70 quid for it.
Yeah.
I
Oh God,
much
yes.
prefer that.
I would pay double if I could guarantee they'd play all the way through and they're just stunning
Rather than me
pieces of art.
Yeah, rather than me getting a 20 quid vinyl that
Or thinking, yeah, wow, $17.99, is that it?
yeah, $17.99, and it arrives, and it's like every single other one that's on the planet. Thin shit material and plays rubbish.
Yeah.
Because at that point, that's when I go, do you know what? Apple Music does sound better.
Yeah, it makes you. This is going to be a bold statement for a record shop and all things record, but there are times when I've had particularly Oasis, because I collect Oasis, where I have had the later presses of anything, and I've gone, why? I said, I've got this on my phone. I could play this song whenever I want.
Yeah.
For £10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Why have I got this that doesn't even play just for the sake of having it? They brought out they reissued the Supersonic 7-inch, and lo and behold, skips.
Right.
Doesn't skip on the B side.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. Take me away, innit?
Take me away.
Yeah.
And it did.
Absolutely.
But I got it, and I was really excited to get it because it was, it was numbered, it was coloured, it was a 7-inch. The 7-inch that was really rare, and I got it, unsealed it, and as you just said, I went,
yeah,
because I knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it went
yeah,
Supersonic.
Yeah.
So when did 180 gram records come out? Because this is the new thing in it, or it's the big thing, 180 grams. So why is it?
Yeah, there was advertisers.
Why is 180 gram and 200 gram records? Why are they the thing? Because
I've no idea.
No, I don't either.
Where they came up with that number. And I apologise if we're doing you a disservice with this podcast. We're just so passionate about vinyl. I think every vinyl should be
good. We're passionate about good quality.
Yeah.
And that is yes, the sort of people we are, aren't we? Isn't it? Really?
No. I totally agree with you. I know that we've said this before in a previous one when the top 10 debut albums came out of all time. Liz Phair was on there, right? Now, I thought, you know what? I could go and listen to it on I haven't got Apple Music, I've got Spotify, right? And it is not very good. But I thought, no, I'll go and order it on vinyl. I will order it on vinyl and listen to it on vinyl.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It is, again, I'm doing the shop a disservice because this is the only way to listen to music, right? But that production of Liz Phair on our record player, and we've got a Technics one in there, and it's a decent deck. It sounded shocking, but it sounded almost like the mix. They'd got the mix wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the 180 gram thing, I don't know where that started because, and you're telling me about that. You saying earlier about the way that the 60s and the 50s and 60s stuff sounds.
Do you remember the
brilliant?
Do you remember the rock and roll number one I had?
Yeah.
Absolutely shagged.
Yeah.
Like it was taped together.
Yeah.
It'd been to every house party, cigarette burns all over it. Not a single issue.
Yeah. No, because
about 1956.
Because of the deep. It's something to do with deep groove, right? Yeah. There's a deep groove, and it means that it's just very. Because we were listening to on dance sets, weren't we? And we were listening to, and you listen, and you can play, them records, and they sound as good as they did now as they did back then.
Remember the Elvis 78?
And it's just one of those moments where I think to myself, why don't they carry on?
Yeah.
With the deep groove. If somebody comes along with an 180 gram idea, and everybody goes along with it, and what I mean. We've got albums in here. I mean, the Kanye West album.
Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah, my beautiful dark. It's a triple. Yeah. It's flipping heavy, isn't it? It's like you need to be.
I put in a David Bowie album once. David Bowie's first album.
Yeah.
And let you have it. And it had it was the album twice, 2 records, but one of the albums was it was an original master and then the reissue. I can't remember what it was. But that was heavy.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, the first album, wasn't it? Yeah,
his first album, just David Bowie.
Well, that's my gesticulation of David Bowie. Okay, yeah, I know the one I mean. Yeah, it's very early on the DRAM label.
Yeah. It was just But there's a bit of weight behind it. You just all of a sudden, I just think like I've got Jay-Z Blueprint.
Yeah.
And there was it reissue. I picked it and I took it out. And I was like, this will be good.
Yeah.
It's almost like I had some sort of.
Yeah,
like I put my hand on the label and went, "You will play," and then and lo and behold, it is superb.
Yeah.
But like the thing about the deep grooves, I'll do this live to the 25,000 listeners we have. Sergeant Pepper's hasn't got the grooves, has it? What is that? You know, it hasn't got the line.
Sergeant Pepper's is the beat. There's no lines.
Yeah, on the original.
It just looks like a 12,
single song.
Yeah, single song, doesn't it? Yeah, there's no lines. It just goes into the next song without a break.
Is that all it is?
Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah, no, there's nothing to do with it. It's
and that is the Beatles marketing. Us.
Yeah.
10 years before my parents were born.
Yeah.
Well, 5.
Yeah. I would say that's like, it's mad that they got it right so early on. Like, nice.
The Beatles?
No, just everybody. Like, they've mastered how to mix a song and create a song and record a song in 1966, and we haven't topped it yet.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, no, it's true.
You know what I mean?
No, they haven't. No, they haven't.
It did take them from... I've gone on... I've searched this before, and I've gone on to see the oldest record ever on Discogs. I'm sure it's like pressed in 1862 or something. You know,
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It is, because I went through a stage where I was like, I need to know what the first YouTube video ever released was. I need to see the first Facebook post.
Yeah.
And I thought, what is the oldest record available? And it was like the King's Speech or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, 18 something. So that's it's going to be. I don't know if 1862 is correct, but there's still over 60 years of them testing it before they got to the Beatles.
Yeah,
and we've had 60, 70, 60 years again.
Yeah,
where it's not been topped.
No, one of my. Going off on a tiny bit of a tangent. One of my favourite, one of my favourite episodes of a program called "Everybody Loves Raymond," or "Everyone Loves Raymond." Yeah, Raymond buys his dad a CD player because he just wants him to listen to jazz the perfect way. Yeah. Robert has other ideas. He's looked at. He goes to a car boot sale and buys all these cheap vinyl records, right? And Raymond's trying his hardest to convince his dad that this is the only way to listen to music. And he goes, "That's not music." And then Robert comes along and plays the vinyl, and all it is and the dad goes, "Ah, now that is jazz.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Play it, Oscar." He goes, and it's Oscar Peterson playing at the piano, but it's just, and I think, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, having the bacon sizzling in the background is brilliant, and it's just great to when you put that needle or the stylus or somebody came in last week and said, "Do you sell the pins?"
The pins. I love pins.
What's a pin? The thing you put the record goes, the pin. Oh, the stylus, yeah. Or the needle, whatever you want to call it. You put the needle on the record and there's a little crackle at the beginning, and it just makes you feel good. It's just that warmth.
It's when it crackles and you think, "Oh, is it?" And then all of a sudden it plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I do agree that some albums you do need, like we've said earlier, you do need a really, really good copy, because you can't listen to stuff like, I don't know, Nick Drake or Dark Side of the Moon, or you can't listen to John Martin, or anything with a quiet bit. It has to be almost like perfect condition, because
it's always I don't know what the sentence is. When things are subtractive, you've always got the perfect thing, and then you got
something that's a bit lesser.
Always taking stuff away. It's like, well, what record player are you playing it on? Well, you're taking 1 point off your 10 points that you got.
And then you're playing it on a Crosley suitcase, briefcase,
I mean?
so it's not as good.
It's like, oh, what's the best car in the world? It's a Bugatti Veyron, let's just say. And it's like, well, what are you driving it on? It's like, well, I'm driving it across the hills of Wales. It's like, well, you're not going to enjoy it then, are you? You're not, as in the actual hills, not the roads. It's like, what seats are in it? There's no seats. It's just like, you need to add everything together. You need to have a record
perfect.
with a good record player and a good quality vinyl before you can say. But it is very, very enjoyable anyway. Like, regardless, the experience of listening to vinyl is just so magical. I think it's just like it's like going to see live music. There's something magical about it, where even if that band played the song exactly the same way as with the record, there's something magical about sitting there and just enjoying it as experiencing it first person, just like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's there and it's happening. It's happening in front of your face.
But again, going back to that, back when I was like growing up, and albums and cassettes, the only way to listen to music, you would queue up.
Yeah.
If there was an album that came out, you would queue up, right, to get that album, right, from the shop, and when you cracked it open, you cracked the seal, you opened the record. If it was a gatefold, you was more excited about it, and you put it on for the first time. Now, music is so accessible that I think that, and it's shops like this that are bringing that enjoyment and that feeling back. And I'm hoping people come in here. I know that we've got people who are playing them on Crossleys, and we've got people who are playing them on. I mean, we've got one of Chris's students, Tony. I've been around his house, and he's got a setup to end all setups. £500,000 plus. And I remember taking.
And he's playing a 2016, definitely, maybe.
Yeah, I can remember
version.
taking Pulp, a different class round, because I wanted to hear what Common People sounded like, and he says, "It doesn't sound too good, does it?" And I was almost like, "Ha! Yeah. £500,000 on you've ruined it." But what we found out later was that the early presses of Pulp, a different class, were recorded off a CD.
Yeah.
So you may as well have just heard. You may as well
your
CD.
records were just a big CD.
Yeah, all it was. It was just there was no analogness or analogly done about it.
So
it was
even
just,
it's got the first press of Pulp, different class.
on vinyl.
On vinyl.
With the aperture sleeve.
Sleeve,
Doesn't sound too good. They took them a while to remaster it and put it so that it's. But they just because the story goes that Island Records, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but Island Records were contracted to produce, let's say, 5,000 albums, and they did it quickly.
Yeah.
Right. They did it on a cheap. Right. The vinyl. They made the sleeves. Like the aperture sleeve with 6 interchangeable inners. Yeah. They spent the money on that, but they probably ran out of money, and they said, "You know what? Do it quick, as cheap as you can on the vinyl."
Nobody's buying them anymore.
And they did it.
That's what surprised me about how the quality of vinyl, even in the 90s and noughties, is still very good. When really it's like, we ain't gonna sell any of these.
Yeah.
I think is it 2006, 2007 where the least amount of vinyl was ever produced? Same year that St. Jude by the Cortinas was released. People go mad for that album on the first press because there's hardly any of them. Yeah, it still sounds... The quality is good. The quality of the sound is good. I've always said, I think I said on the overrated and underrated, it was one of my... what's it called? Honourable mentions. Where, I don't rate St. Jude or the Cortinas particularly. Anyway, but the quality of that record compared to more recent presses and the one that came out last year, was it? It's second to none. So why is it that? I wonder why they took that time. I always think Familiar to Millions, Oasis, that is glorious. It came out in 2000. The band hate the album.
I hate the album.
I don't think it's great, And you open it up and it's a picture of Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, I know.
Get the
there's some
trifold.
There's some. Going back to my Liz Phair story, right? And why if I'm going to listen to an album that is available on vinyl, I will try my hardest to get it on vinyl before I hear it, right?
Yeah, that's what I'd try to.
And I did it with Jellyfish.
Yeah.
Spilt milk on vinyl. Oh my goodness, it'll change your life.
Yeah.
It is an absolute masterclass.
Doesn't matter that it's 300 quid. No, I'm joking.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, it was one of those moments where I just thought, you know what? I've had so many people tell me about this album.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I missed it because I was out doing discos in 1993, 94, 95, and I should have. It just passed me by.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's because they're an American band and he was big in America, you know. But it just passed me by. You know.
No, it's, listening to it on the record first rather than any other way, waiting for it to come out and you've actually got it in your hand, as you would have done. Yeah, imagine when Abbey Road came out. The only way you might have heard one of the singles on the radio.
On the radio,
maybe.
Yeah.
And you go and you get Abbey Road. Your needle drops down, or the pin, and
pin the bend.
And the pin drops down. Yeah, that needs to be on a t-shirt. Drop the pin.
Drop the pin. Yeah.
With needle crossed
or
out.
Pull the pin.
Or whatever it is. Anyway, and
So
Come Together comes on. Something.
Maxwell.
Maxwell Silver Spoon.
Maxwell Silver Hammer.
Silver Hammer. Silver Spoon. Silver Spoon. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, darling. Oh, can you imagine? Oh, darling. First time you hear that.
First time, and you've listened to it on a misaligned Apple, perfect misaligned Apple copy.
Yeah.
And you've gone, but the album's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
A guy came in today with a box of records, and he didn't have anything in there, but he just had a battered "Please Please Me," right? In there, and I looked at the sleeve and I thought, this is a gold one. This is a gold one.
Not again.
And it wasn't a gold one, but it had a crack in it, right? A little crack, right? In the. And I said, do you know what? I said that will still play. Please, I don't want to buy this box of records off you. Take it home and play it. That will still play, honestly. Just enjoy the moment. Please, just take it home and enjoy the moment, because I don't want to buy these records off you because there's nothing in here of any value. But that one there, you need to take it home and listen to it. And he goes, all right, well, yeah, I'll take it home. And it's just, I just wanted him to feel how I felt the first time I heard Please Please Me. Do you know what I mean? There was a copy of...
would you have bought it if it was a gold?
He's bringing his gold. Of course I'd have bought it with a gold. If it was snapped in half, I'd have bought it.
Yeah. If you'd have coloured it in gold.
Yeah. There was a copy of Country Roads by John Denver, and I told him to take that home and play it, because it's just, again, John Denver stuff was on RCA, and it's just beautifully recorded.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, so just to finish off, I'm sure there's amazing records out there, but I do think some do sound better than than others. Can you think of some examples of where you listen to a record and maybe it's a record that you've loved or a song that you've heard before, but you've never heard it like you have on vinyl? I've got a couple.
Go on then.
Off with. When you played me that Carrying Up the Charts by The Beautiful South, and you played me Set the Ship Alone, that I almost had tears in my eyes.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've heard that song so many times, driving in the car, on CD, or on the radio, or on cassette.
Well, it used to be in the car on just, it was in the CD player all the time whenever you were growing up.
Yeah. It's in the CD player at home as well.
Yeah.
You know, on the good hi-fi stuff. But when you played it to me in the shop, it was like I was listening to it for the first time. It was unbelievable.
So why is that?
No idea.
Okay.
You know what? It's just something magical about it.
I know. You told me one time, probably a couple of years ago, that it's all about data.
Yeah, I mean, data. For those nerdy people out there, you can have 24-bit and 16-bit and 10-bit data on an MP3, which is basically how loud you can get an instrument or a piece of data. And then, so that's the up and down part of it. And then you've got the side to side part of it where the wave comes in, and you can record little segments of data. So usually it's 48,000 times per second. You record data in that way. And and you can go all the way up to about 192 is kind of standard in kind of digital world. But with tape and vinyl, there's no limit, absolutely no limit.
So am I right in thinking that, let's just say, for instance, a digital wave is in blocks?
Yeah.
Whereas an analog is like this.
It can be as smooth as possible.
So where music stops there might be a tiny bit of data you can chuck in there on a vinyl. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you might hear a cello, or you might hear something that you hadn't heard before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that right?
I think I got an example.
Is it Oasis again?
Of course it is. That's all I know. It's the only band out the only available band. Oasis be here now. Helicopter on, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you sat in the cockpit.
You are, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
for
someone that I know you're not as big an Oasis fan, if at all, but just you, that one there at the end.
I can appreciate music.
Yeah. The helicopter sound and all the bits leading.
Well,
up to,
you're
looking around the room thinking, where's it coming
where
from?
the hell is it? I know.
Yeah.
If that was on quadraphonic, you'd be thinking, oh my goodness, the dogs would go crazy.
I would say, yeah. I think I'd actually be interested here. Is there a record that you can only have on record?
Is there
an album you'd only want on vinyl? You don't want it on any other because there's no point. For me, I think mine is Be Here Now.
Yeah.
I think throughout that album, it's either that or one of the most overrated albums of all time, possibly the White Album. Or the White Album. I just love it. Whenever it was, throwback to when.
I'll put a link up there.
Yeah.
So for me, the production of stuff like Hotel California by the Eagles, right? Aja by Steely Dan and Can't Buy a Thrill by Steely Dan, Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd. I would only ever own those on vinyl because...
was Rock and Roll Number One.
Oh, Rock and Roll 1, yeah. There's an album at the back of you, Dan, Imelda May, Life, Love and Flesh and Blood. There's a song on there, Call Me. If you haven't heard that on vinyl, then you've not lived, because that version is just, it'll blow your head off. When you've heard it for the first time on vinyl, you'll think, nah, this is the only way I'm going to listen to this. And the next track, Black Tears, because you've got Jeff Beck on guitar, he absolutely, it's almost like he's in the room. When you listen to it on MP3 or CD, it's got that deadness to it, whereas that is alive.
Yeah.
It's just stunning, and those are the stuff like I would say, and going back to your half speed, we were talking about half speed masters, and I have no idea how to do it, and if you do know how you do it, please don't tell me, because I want it to be magical anyway. How they make records is just magical. How you can have something going around at 33 1/3 or 45, and you put the pin on there, and it produces music is just, it's magical, right? And what they do with the half speed mastering is going up the next level. I've got An Innocent Man at home, half-speed master. I've got Bridge Over Troubled Water, Simon Garfunkel, half-speed master. And I don't think you can get half-speed masters on digital.
Yeah.
There's no. Why would you?
Well, there's no way. There's no way of doing it.
No. So it's that sound that you've got, and that extra bit of data that you've got in there that they've found.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those. It's magical, and when I listen to I make no excuse for this, but one of my favourite albums of all time was one of the first albums I ever bought. It was Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf, and when you listen to that on vinyl, it is phenomenal. But when you listen to it on half speed master, you listen to 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad. It's your I'll sell the ship alone moment. Again, it literally will bring tears to your eyes, because you think that Meatloaf's in the room with you.
Yeah.
Stunning. So yes, those are the ones that I would. Anything that is produced fantastically, you need it on vinyl.
Do you think then? So we've mentioned a lot about all of us about a certain record, including Chris, especially Chris, in fact, that I bet none of us have actually ever listened to on vinyl, which is Kid A.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, I know that it's just a laptop thrown at a wall and then stamped on and then gone, oh, actually, a recovered chip, and they will put that out. I've listened to it once through and I just think, ugh. Anyway, for the Kid A lovers out there, which is loads of people for some reason.
Oh, millions of them.
Yeah. And nearly everyone. I'm after this. I'm happy to listen to Kid A on vinyl.
Yeah.
To see if I can change my mind.
Well, I'll again.
Have you ever listened to it on vinyl?
No, but I have listened to the Bends and OK Computer, and the Bends on vinyl.
I can imagine it's incredible.
Absolutely. You listen to what's the
OK Computer, Pablo Honey.
No. It's on the Bends.
High and Dry.
High and Dry. You listen to High and Dry. It is another. I'll say again, it's a life changer because it just sounds again alive.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm happy. I'm happy to listen to Kid A on vinyl once.
I will let you tell me how.
Yeah. So I'll just text you. I'll go if I said no, we've got it wrong, Dan.
Yeah.
No, but,
Go on.
but, and this is a big but, right? I have a funny feeling that there'll be a new depth to Kid A on vinyl. I really do. I think there'll be a
That's
new.
what I mean.
We'll add a new dimension.
Yeah.
You know.
I've only listened to it on streaming services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are very lucky I've done that.
Yeah.
I've tried many times.
I'll tell you what we'll do, right? If I've got a copy in the shop.
You should have loads because no one would buy that, surely.
If I've got a copy in the shop, I don't think I have, but if I've got amnesia.
Oh, yeah, what, Kid A with the bit on the end?
Yeah.
God, I feel myself angry.
I'll crack it open, and while we're packing away, we'll have a listen.
Okay.
Just to see if it sounds... We can't...
And then should we do a TikTok on it?
Probably.
And say, was it any good?
Yeah,
and we'll link
by the end of the first side. But if we're not got any more in the bank, you'll know, any more podcasts in the bank, you'll know because we've wrecked all the gear by listening to it.
Yeah, the shop will be just torn apart if it's awful.
No, we'll do that. I will, if I've got one. I don't think I have. But
you probably won't have one. I imagine you've got 10.
Yeah.
Because surely no one's bought it.
Yeah. Yeah. Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. I think
stunning.
One of the greatest albums to listen to on vinyl.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning.
Don't listen to it on any other platform.
No.
That's what I would...
I would,
do you know what
I
had?
Agree with you.
I had a mobile fidelity version in here.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it played at 45 RPM and I daredn't play it because I just knew that I'd take it home.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. It's worth it. It was, 100, I think it was 120 quid, I think, when I bought it off somebody.
Yeah.
And I didn't play it because I knew, flipping heck, I've got to take this home with me now, haven't I?
It's because Miles Davis, it feels like he's in the room.
Yeah.
When it's, like we were saying with that kind of, with the dynamics of the
waves,
or whatever goes on in a vinyl, we don't know. Something about that when you put it through somewhere like Spotify or CD or something, and those things get turned into blocks instead of waves, something gets lost.
Yeah.
And it's no longer Miles Davis. It's
somebody
no longer Miles Davis in the room. It's Miles Davis on CD.
It's Miles Davis on CD.
Yeah. Rather than Miles Davis in front of you.
Yeah.
And there's something special about that album that needs to be listened to on vinyl. That's
well, same as Blue Train. Blue Train by John Coltrane is another one that I because before I open the shop, I'm making no excuse here, but I always thought the jazz sounded a bit like 5 people in a corner of a room tuning up, and that was the end.
Yeah.
Or it sounded like somebody chucking a lot of instruments down the stairs and recorded it, and that was it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But having listened to a Kind of Blue and a Love Supreme and stuff like Art Blakey and stuff like Thelonious Monk, it absolutely it's you get it.
Yeah.
And I get it now because the intricacy of what they do together to bring that sound, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, there's some stuff like the trad jazz stuff is that I just can't get my head around, but that blue note stuff, of bebop stuff is really really good.
Yeah. And it goes without saying as well, vinyl is expensive.
Yeah.
It's an expensive thing to buy.
When you can pay £10 a month to just have a billion songs.
But for all those people that want to get into collecting vinyl and stuff, go into your local record shops, because they'll have stuff that's secondhand, stuff that's like amazing records that could be £4 or £5, right?
Yeah,
like,
the famous story of the first time you sold the gold stereo, and I picked up a Blues Brothers soundtrack just so
blue mono,
the Blues Brothers soundtrack, and
blue mono.
It was like £3.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a stereo, a Please Please Me stereo up on the wall, up there, and I'm going to make no bones about it. That's $5.5 grand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's $5.5 grand album.
Yeah.
Anybody wants it? You glad? You can barter with me, but it's not going to. There's not going to be not much change out of $5.5 grand.
How much the bag? 10p.
Hey,
10p for a bag.
10p for a bag. Yeah. Do you know what I thought you said? How much do you pay for it? 10p. I thought, I flipping wish, isn't it? Hey.
Yeah. So
10p for a bag.
It can be an expensive hobby if you're really into your music and you're really into your vinyl.
Oh,
it can add up.
And you start collecting.
Yeah.
All the bits, and then the promos, oh my god, it gets.
But they also said that 85% of Taylor Swift albums that are sold will never see a turntable because she's made so many formats in different colours and different sleeves that people just.
How many McCartney 3s are like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many colours are left?
Oh, I love the story of the yellow and black one.
With the three dots through the middle.
The 3 dots. You know the story about that?
Yeah, the 3-3-3 one.
Yeah, Paul McCartney's production company said, right, we want to make these McCartney 3s out of recycled McCartney 1 and 2s.
Yes.
So I want you to go around all the charity shops, all the record shops, and buy as many McCartney 1 and 2s, and we will make 333 out of the recycled 1 and 2s.
That's the only one worth having.
Yeah.
Out of all the...
But...
Think of a colour and it's there.
Yeah.
But that most of those will skip because they're made out of shit material, aren't they? You start recycling.
I've probably got a McCartney 1 like nailed to my shed wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that story.
Yeah,
that's great.
Made them all
if
out.
It's true.
McCartney 3s are made out of McCartney 1, 2. It's just a great story.
If it's true.
Yeah. I think it is true.
Yeah.
Because I made it up just now.
Yeah.
No, it's just a true story.
Yeah. I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
That's it's one of the other reasons why vinyl's so good. There's so many things to love and so many stories about vinyl. How many stories like that can you say about?
Right from the first episode.
Okay.
Have they got the poster?
Yeah.
There we go. Right. I'll give you a quick fire question. What was the first vinyl that you bought?
Now 8.
Right. What was the first vinyl you bought? Or the first vinyl that you owned?
I think it was Born to Run.
Okay.
Bruce Springsteen.
Yep, I remember. Yep, you was living at home then, weren't you? And that. Yep. What was the first CD you bought?
It was a single.
Yep.
Next of Kin, 24 Hours.
Okay.
Very. Nobody knows them.
I can't remember, but I have a funny feeling it was Black Eyed Peas.
Okay.
Funk.
Right. What was the first download you ever downloaded? There you go. Don't remember. Go on.
Do you know what?
Probably that.
I actually know mine.
Of course you do.
But only because I couldn't tell you any others, but only because I wanted to try out iTunes.
Right.
And I wanted to see how it all worked
right.
and stuff.
Is it that U2 album everyone got?
Yeah. I was searching for, still haven't found what I'm looking for by YouTube.
There you go.
Oh, it was that U2. No, yeah.
But I found a folk version by a girl called Wanda Vick, mandolin, Go and check it out. It's unbelievable. Had to buy it there and then. 79p. Still got it. Still listen to it nowadays.
I don't know. Mine.
No, the point I'm making is a lot of people remember their first album or their first single they ever bought. Then they just about remember their first CD, but nobody remembers the first download because it's not organic.
No.
It's not. It's just in the air.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, you don't care.
No.
I couldn't tell you. I had my liked playlist playing on the way down here today. No, I couldn't tell you what the last song was.
No.
Yeah.
Or the first song. I couldn't tell you where it started, what I've even listened to, really. Probably Oasis, probably the Beatles, and probably Elvis, because according to this podcast, that's all I listened to. It definitely wasn't Kid A.
I tell you, Spotify, right? We'll go back to Spotify because I only got Spotify. But Spotify has its place, right? And it has its place to put things on random to introduce you to different kinds of music, right? But it's almost like a speed dating thing, isn't it? Where you swipe right or swipe, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
you just skip it.
You just skip it, right? Now, a couple of albums that I've found, if you like, or a couple of songs that I've found whilst it's been going through stuff for me, was a song by Jimmy Clanton called Another Sleepless Night, right? Now, Mum played it and she said, listen to this. And I was like, flipping heck. That sounds like a Neil Sedaka song. And it was a Neil Sedaka song. Neil Sedaka had written it, right? And so, of course, that takes you on a different journey then of all the stuff with Jimmy Clanton, you know? And another band that we've just recently discovered is a band called Dry as a Bone, right? Or the Dry as a Bone Band, right? Dry as a Bone Family Group or something. Check them out. Mm-hmm. Right, they've not made any vinyl yet, so they'll it's only available on CD and streaming. Yeah. But that's
exciting when a band goes from streaming only, or this is our CD in a little cardboard envelope thing, to this is our first vinyl.
Yeah, I mean you'll definitely be bringing vinyl out, won't you? With Lake Town, won't you?
So. If my comments don't get recognised every post, it's like the vinyl. It's like special announcement. I'm like the vinyl.
Yeah. And speaking of which, we've got our own vinyl, haven't we?
We have.
It's
out.
Yeah. By the time this goes out, it may be sold out.
Maybe. If there's any left, then you're very, very lucky. But if you listen to the last episode,
there was 40 left there. And I reckon we've sold 10. No,
I
don't know.
We're just guessing, but we have the introduction music that goes on all of our podcast intros. It's a cover of Crossroads by Robert Johnson. You only get to listen to about 26 seconds on the podcast.
A bit precise.
Yeah.
It's a 4.5 minute song, recorded by our very own Chris, who's not here.
Who's sat, here beside me.
Yeah, he's usually sat where Tom is, but he's not here this week. He had to go and do a gig. But we're very, very happy to have his music that we use every week on our podcast now printed to vinyl.
Only vinyl, only available on vinyl.
It's not going to be on streaming or anything or any download
websites. Those 100.
Yeah, it's going to be a very special thing, and there might be some left. So go to our website if you want to go for one of those. Very, very exciting. It's going to be hand signed by all of us. So
and hand numbered, isn't it?
Hand numbered, hand signed.
And we've just been told as well that Chris told us about an Obi strip or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's going on it.
Shall I release like something else? Like, it's going to have it's going to be sticker sealed.
Yeah. It's kind of a poster.
Yeah.
So go grab that if you can. So I think we've summed up why we love vinyl so much.
But some of the best lines that come into the shop, people say, a record shop. Is vinyl coming back then? I flipping hope so. I've got 15,000 records in here to get rid of. This ain't a museum, isn't it?
My favourite quote that you told me was some guy come in and said wanted to listen to something, and he said, it's got a few surface marks on it. He said, mate, life's got surface marks.
It's true.
It's got some surface noise, and surface noise. I said, life's got surface noise.
Yeah.
John Peel said that.
That's John Peel, yeah.
John. I've said that a few times to people though. Yeah. John Peel said
another T-shirt there and then.
Yeah.
Life's got surface noise.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much, gents.
Thank you
very much for this podcast. Thank you very much for joining us once again. If you're a previous listener, thanks for joining us on this episode. If you're a new listener, thank you so much for joining us for the first time. If you want to check out all our other podcasts, we've got about 19 or 18 or so episodes.
Is this episode 20?
I think so, something like that. Yeah,
It'll be up there, isn't it?
I think so.
I've been doing it half a year then.
Yeah.
Flipping heck.
Yeah,
It still feels brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still feels brand new.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to go check out the other previous episodes, they're all available on your favourite streaming platforms, wherever you stream your podcasts, whether that be Apple or Spotify or YouTube, wherever you enjoy your podcast goodness. And if you want to support the shop a little bit more, we do have our shop in Oakham in Rutland. That's in the heart of the UK. You can shop on our website or come and see us in store. We've got everything from £1 all the way up to those rare expensive records that you might be after. So for now, we're going to go and listen to
Kid A.
Kid A by
We've got a
Radiohead.
copy of Kid A.
And
Unsealed, so someone's listened to that.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah. So we're going to go listen to that.
Let's see
Hope
if
you
our
can,
minds change.
Yeah, just to see if our minds change.
Honestly, I want it to change my mind and go, I want this to be like a moment where we'll put the stuff down for a minute and go, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were wrong.
Yeah.
I know it won't be that. But
No, what'll happen is it'll be used as a zombie killer.
yeah. Yeah. I'll take it back for the dog. I'll bring the definitely maybe back in and I'll put.
And we haven't even mentioned 78 shit, have we? So
Oh.
that's another time.
A story for another day.
A story
Yeah.
for another day. Yeah. Well, we'll update you on Kid A for next week's podcast. But once again, thanks a lot, Tom. Thanks
Thank
a lot, Dad. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Cheers, Dan.
Thank you.
Cheers.